30-second game fact. Did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 internationally is different from its release in Japan? The sequel in Japan is shockingly similar to the original, but with new levels and more difficulty. Nintendo of America found the game too similar to the original and far too frustrating to a newer video game market like America. Instead, they would completely reskin an existing Japanese platformer called Doki Doki Panic, which was made for a special event with Fuji Television. The real sequel would eventually make its way to America as The Lost Levels, and the Doki Doki Panic reskin would later be released in Japan as Super Mario USA. Did you know that a Nintendo Game Boy is bomb-proof? Supposedly in 1991 during the Gulf War, a soldier was keeping a Game Boy stowed away in the barracks. When these barracks were bombed and set ablaze, soldiers returned to assess the damages, only to find a severely damaged Game Boy. The Game Boy was sent into Nintendo for repairs and partially saved. The outside is completely scorched and warped open, revealing the motherboard, and some of the buttons are melted, but if plugged in, the handheld can still turn on a game pack of Tetris. The story made Nintendo Power Magazine, and the Game Boy would be displayed at the New York Nintendo store. Did you know that the Atari 2600 only had 126 bytes of RAM? You heard correctly, bytes, not gigabytes or megabytes, not even kilobytes. To put that into perspective, just 1 megabyte is a million bytes. In today's hardware, that is enough for about 0.007 seconds of music and just enough to store this sentence in a notepad. The original games to release with the 2600 were only 2 kilobytes in total. By comparison, our game, Rutabaga Does the Storm, is just over 76 megabytes, which is about 38,000 times bigger. Did you know that Space Invaders was the first game to have a difficulty curve? In each level, the ships begin to move faster as less of them remain, making the game harder. However, this feature was actually entirely unintentional. This was merely an effect of programming and poor processing power. With fewer ships on screen, the specially developed hardware this game used was able to process frames more quickly and increase the frame rate. Because the ship's movement was updated on each frame, they would begin to move faster. The developer liked this bug and opted not to fix it. Did you know that the first ever video game was not called Pong, but Tennis for Two? Created in 1958 for a public exhibition, it would be played on an oscilloscope with each player using a knob to change the angle of their shot and a button to hit the ball. Its creator, William Higginbotham, headed the electronics division for the Manhattan Project and would design this game in a few hours before building it in 3 weeks. The analog computer it was made with was able to simulate trajectories with wind resistance, and a later edition, the gravity level could be changed. Did you know that the original build of Minecraft was incredibly simple? It seems hard to remember what few items the game had when it first came out, but it was shockingly few. In fact, the original release of Minecraft was made by Marcus Persson, aka Notch, in only 6 whole days. It included only the bare basics. First, placing and removing blocks was implemented, then a day-night cycle, world rendering, and eventually player movement and collision before it was shared publicly. It would of course take much longer for later updates to be made, ones that would add many things to the game. Did you know that in late 1995 it was estimated that 1993's Doom had been installed on more computers than Windows 95 in its launch year? The shareware version of the game had been estimated to have been shared over 1 million times. The influx of people installing the game on release day crashed networks, and institutions like universities had to start banning multiplayer games to save their network systems from going down. In fact, id even struggled to upload the shareware version to the internet using a server at University of Wisconsin-Madison because so many users were already connected waiting to download it. Have you ever noticed anything a little odd about the voice lines in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion? This is probably because the voice actors for the game weren't given their lines in a normal way. You'd expect the dialogue to be ordered by characters or chronologically scene by scene. However, in Oblivion, the voice lines were given to the voice actors in alphabetical order, meaning that they had no context for the situation and recorded different parts of the same scene at vastly different times, making the whole game's dialogue seem disjointed. Games used to have built-in anti-piracy detection measures to prevent consumers from making illegal copies of games. Generally, if a cartridge detected it was copied, then it would just flash a screen saying something like "piracy is a serious crime" and not let you past the screen. But did you know that some games took it a step further? A notable example would be Earthbound. If you can get past their anti-piracy screen, then it will allow you to play a modified version of the game with significantly higher spawn rates. Enemies will spawn in areas they aren't usually meant to, and worst of all, if you can still manage to make it to the final boss, the game will crash and permanently delete your save before you can defeat it. Did you know that 1993's Doom had multiple name changes throughout the development? There exists a document known as the Doom Bible, which was the original design document for the game. It features quite a few things that never made it into the game and reveals that at some point Doom was originally going to be named Attack of the Attackers, but they decided that this was too silly. The name Green and Pissed was also considered, but eventually dropped for a reference to the film The Color of Money, entitled Doom. Tons of other content didn't make it in, that you can see in the Doom Bible down in the description. Did you know that in Half-Life 2, Eli Vance Likeness was based on a homeless man in Seattle? The story goes that this local man was on the streets holding up a sign saying he was looking for work. Many in the Half-Life community mistakenly credit this man as Larry the Count Hurd, a DJ and musician. While Hurd's likeness was in fact used for a background citizen model, the real Eli Vance was never credited, according to Half-Life 2 Raising the Bar, a book on Valve's development of many of their games. Did you know that the release of Mega Man 3 was a total rush job? Its development was littered with problems. The lead supervisor for Mega Man 1 and 2 had left before development even began. Keiji Inafune, an artist for the series, considered the game his least favorite entry because of the development. He felt the new supervisor didn't understand Mega Man, and during the project they also lost the main planner, so Inafune took over that job as well. The final 2 months of development were particularly fast, and the team was forced to publish the game before they considered it ready.